Welcome you to Austin Huns Field here in Austin, Texas for this long-awaited exhibition match featuring Richmond Football Club from London, England, and the Austin Huns. A beautiful day here in Central Texas, mostly cloudy, 90 degrees, hot and humid, and the visitors, well, certainly trying to get adjusted to the change in weather alongside the one and only Grant Cole. I'm Kit McConico. The Huns, well, they locked up the Red River Rugby Conference #1 seed, a spot in the national championships earlier. Their elite side taking down Hark, Houston Area Rugby Club, 95-8 in that match. And now for the exhibition match, welcome all of you joining us on Spectrum Sports Channel. Welcome you joining us on the Huns YouTube channel, wherever you may be joining us from. This, well, Richmond football, they are one of the oldest clubs in rugby history.
Second oldest.
1861. They're over 150 years old. They have a great record, and the Huns thrilled to have them here in Central Texas, as are we.
2,700 members strong in London they are.
2,700 members strong. What they've been able to do, competing there in the Green King IPA Championships, winners of 6 Surrey Cups. They will be going from left to right in the striped yellow, red, and black. The Huns in their home white trimmed with sky blue and black. Huns with the opening kick. Second and final match here in the Texas Tour for Richmond football. They took down Dallas earlier, 65-5 over Dallas Athletic. They've had a great trip. They've done all the things you might expect, and now looking for a win before they head back across the pond, looking to get things started early.
Strong tackle there by Zinzan Allen Puddock.
Visitors going from left to right. The Huns, well, a combination D1, D2 side. Their fullback Zinzan Allen Puddock starting. Mikey McLean, the captain, starting at hooker for the Huns.
Greg Varnell dings the Huns early for a side entry.
Visitors looking to spin it wide.
And it's going to be hard to see that yellow ball up against those visitors' yellow jerseys.
And one thing we must say early on, had the opportunity to speak with Kate Clements, the operations manager for this tour for Richmond, as they look to put the first points on the board. That ball stays in play, but the whistle from Greg Varnell. And she said, we've got 30-plus guys. We have 20 jerseys. We're here on tour. We're enjoying ourselves. There's going to be a lot of number switching, so just keep that in mind. We will do the best we can, but we apologize in advance for that one.
So, yeah, we don't have a roster for Richmond, but...
Well, this is a combined squad. They got first, second, third teamers here, all making the trip across the pond. They've shot guns. They've been tubing. They've eaten a lot of barbecue. They've done what you're supposed to do when you come to Texas.
And they've seen a rodeo.
This is their first night. They showed up at DFW, went straight to the stockyards in Fort Worth, saw the Fort Worth rodeo. What else could you ask for?
Yeah, not much more. It's a great rodeo to go to.
Huns looking to kick it out of danger. Fielded nicely.
Gareth Pritchard with a nice kick ahead. But the tourists there using their passing skills to get that ball moved downfield.
And that's one thing, is they were surprised by the physicality of Dallas Athletic. They said they play a very quick, physical brand, but this is a well-oiled machine. They're at the end of their 10-month season, I should say. They've been through all the ups and downs, and this is, well, how they're going to round things out. But they want to win. They're not here just for fun.
Yeah, they won one against Dark. Watched that match twice the other day. Thanks to Steve Daniels at Dark for sending that to me. Used a lot of passing to the outside. Used the ball well to open up space. And played a great game of evasive running, which is what you want to see. It's a beautiful game to watch when you're using that ball to create space and run to space. And that's something that the tourists did really well when they were up in Dallas last weekend. And hopefully it'll be just as exciting here today with stronger defense from the Huns.
And their director, Steve Hill, said we have three aims for this tour. We want everybody to have a safe and a good time. We want to win our matches, and, well, we want to spread the word and gain some respect for Richmond rugby.
Greg Varnell making sure everybody knows what he wants to see, square shoulders, and definitely nobody losing their mind or getting a little loose in the hips there.
Again, congratulations to the Huns Elite, locking up their national playoff spot. First seed in the Red River Rugby Conference earlier, the victory over Houston Athletic Rugby Club. Now scrum to the Huns. Starting to scrum half, Carlos Alvarez. And a quick whistle right at the try line. Quickly, we do have the starters for the Huns. Matt Zappa, so Zappa, McLean, Mitchell. The front line, Hoffman, Samuelson, Reynolds. We get ready for another scrum. Grant, we'll get over those starters in just 1 second. Scrum to Richmond. Cutting inside, offloaded nicely, and the visitors with the opening try.
And they just caught Puttock looking outside, because that's exactly what that scrum half, the Richmond scrum half, wanted to see. 8-man take, quick out to the scrum half, and the 15 coming back in on the angle. As a strong try by Richmond right there. It's kind of what I said, the evasive running with nice ball handling, using the ball to create space. And if they can do that all day, that's going to be a nice game for them.
We've got to realize most of these men for Richmond, they've been playing since they were 4, 5, 6 years of age, now getting into the senior team. So you're going to see a very technically adept side. You mentioned the passing, the running. They do a very good job in the phases. And now looking to convert and take a 7-0 lead early on. The kick finds itself inside the right post, is up and good, and it is 7-0 Richmond football on top of the Huns in this exhibition match. Alongside Grant Cole, I'm Kit McConico. Grant, we now take the opportunity to look at the starters for the Huns.
Starters for the Huns. You called out the type 5 already, and the back line is Ross Reynolds, Colin Bouguet, and Biff Little. At 9 and 10 is Carlos Alvarez and Gareth Pritchard. 11 is Darian Hubert. Chris Nelson and James Cobble in the midfield. Joaquin Quisano at 14, and Zinzan Elan Puttock at the fullback position. In the reserves, Demetrio Leja, JP Novak, John Galbraith, Braden Mack, Misael Palacios, Wes Woods, Billy Hoya, and Keegan Bradley.
Richmond back with it quickly. You've got to imagine that the weather will certainly affect the visitors from London, but maybe more in the second half than in the first. They're going to try to put a stamp on this one early.
They don't look any the worse for wear for it, that's for sure.
And I spoke with a few of them. I said, have you been enjoying your trip? And they all agreed too much. But so far, yet to see any adverse effects.
Biff Little there, dinged for not releasing the tackle quick enough. No clear release when he tried to go for the ball.
At the halfway line, Richmond, you see those faces. The great passing off the ball. You do a great job offloading. Always looking to find the extra man, trying to make that extra pass.
And he was just running a little too soon there, their winger was. And, you know, he had the space seen before he had the ball in hand. And definitely would like to have that one back. I think his mates here over on the side are definitely going to let him hear about that.
Early on, only points thus far coming from Richmond. And the kick finds itself into touch. The line out coming for the visitors. Welcome all of you, wherever you may be joining us from. A special welcome to the Richmond fans across the pond there in the UK. Welcome all of you.
And Richmond player Will Brown would like to have a shout out to his mom, Nikki Brown, who's watching us from London.
There we go.
Additionally, Rob Kirby from Richmond, his girlfriend Kirsten is watching, and he'd like to give a shout out to her.
Are you taking requests over here?
Well, I mean, making sure that they can give some love back home.
You're
right?
a fine host, and for that, nobody can argue. Richmond over the 22, deep in Huns territory, looking to add, spinning it outside, nicely taken down there. Good tackle from Nelson for the Huns. Inside, another cut back and dotted down for another Richmond try.
And one of the things you see here out of this Richmond try, all the way across, you see they're running on to the ball. They're running into the space between the tacklers. They're not actually running at the tacklers. And then once they get into that space, it's just offload time. You saw that 1, 2, 3 phases across, the same thing each time. Put their man through, they're locked through, and their fly half was right there on his hip to take the ball and make the easy try.
Well, as we did in our first match, we will take breaks here because of the heat and humidity. Give these players from both sides a chance to grab a quick something to drink and get back to it. Richmond putting their stamp on this one early and looking for the conversion. Kick up and good, and 14-0 Richmond early on.
Also from Richmond, Tim Edwards is here on the sidelines, and he'd like to give a shout out to his father, Simon Edwards. That Simon Edwards would like to give a shout out to his dad, Nick Edwards.
The younger Edwards to the elder?
I'll get it right, yeah. And Tim, thanks for watching from London, and hope you guys are enjoying the cast here.
Rugby, one of the fastest growing sports here in the U.S., certainly nowhere near the level it is in the U.K. There's great rugby there in England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, not to mention on the continent. Doing our best to spread the gospel, so to speak, and it's continuing to grow. And Richmond here in Central Texas doing their part, and we thank them coming over. This has been long awaited, highly anticipated, having this great historic side here. Again, I've got to thank everyone there, certainly their director, Steve Hill, but Kate Clements, their operations manager, she's been fantastic. The Huns, very little possession early on. Richmond back with it. Unable to find a seam going through. Nicely taken down by Biff Little. Rupert Harden, tight head prop that time. Looking inside, taken down from behind. Good tackling there from Pritchard for the Huns.
Tourist playing a nice little barbarian-style rugby there, making sure the ball moves through hands, doesn't stay in the tackles very long, doesn't stay in the breakdowns very long, which is not playing to the Huns' defensive style. The Huns want to get time to form their defense and come up quick with the line speed, and it's not always happening for them here. So it's definitely something to slow them down. And they're going to want to adjust to that and make sure their line speed stays constant, even though the ball is coming out quickly.
And Pritchard sends it out into touch. Line out for the Huns. McLean, the captain, over to take it. Nicely taken, line out by the Huns. Back to Alvarez. Scrum half looking to move it quickly. Bit of room for the Huns. Zinzan. Puttick offloads. And the Huns looking good for the first time. Ball on the turf stays with Austin. Heavy running up the middle. The Huns nowhere to go. Well defended by Richmond.
Phil Hansen staying on his feet there, driving the cankles.
McLean. Looking to get it back to Sassano, but electing to keep it in. The hands of the Lock Hoffman. Now Bouguet. Back to McLean, room on the outside. The Huns unable to hold on to it, lose possession. And an injured Richmond man coming to the sideline. I believe that's their loose head prop, Timmy Walford.
While we're taking this break for Richmond, John Nichols, who's going to be playing, looks like prop for them today, wants to give a shout out to his girlfriend Jessica Worley. Let her know he's doing all right. He looks like the like he would be the sergeant at arms on this team. the port father, squad father.
Walford, the loose head prop who came off due to injury, had a great quote. He was interviewed earlier this week by FloRugby, and he said, "I love Texas because everything's bigger, including the food portions. And for a large man like myself, that's absolutely lovely."
They love to see that kind of feeding, especially if they get to go to one of our buffets. Bet they're amazed by Golden Corral.
Walford was amazed by the barbecue. He said as much. Scrum to Richmond. Just on the other side of the 22. Good work outside. Got a bit of space. Can they take advantage? Steaming ahead over the halfway line. Oh, good pass back behind. Richmond able to hold on to it. Barely. Ball tipped.
Little Sonny Bill Williams move there.
The visitors now bringing it back to the near side. Find a hole, find a gap, cut through. No shoestring tackle. And in for the try. Richmond taking advantage early on in this one.
That's a brace for their fly half today.
Just 17 minutes in, and Richmond, all points coming for the visitors. 3 tries. They've been good so far, 2 of 2 with the conversions.
It's great to watch these touring teams play, and when they're put together the way the Richmond team is from several different squads. Some of these guys are trying to put their hand up and say, hey, I want to play a little up next year. This is what I can do. And they're definitely playing a nice, friendly, and entertaining style of what we call barbarian rugby.
What do you mean by that, Grant, for those people that aren't familiar with the term?
See the ball flowing through the hands real quick, and there's a bit of flair to it. And, they're going to take some high-risk passes here and there. And when it pays off, it's really sweet.
Well, as we mentioned, they brought almost 40 players on tour. They only have 22 jerseys, I was told by Kate Clemens, their operations manager. So they would be changing jerseys quickly. Even if we did have a roster, she said it wouldn't do you much good. And again, we apologize as we do not have an accurate roster for Richmond, doing the best we can, and we appreciate you bearing with us.
I think the folks back home that know the Richmond players know who's out there.
They know who they are. They know the ones dotting it down, making the runs and the tackles. Fans enjoying themselves, this long-awaited, highly anticipated exhibition match. The Huns send it back. Grant, on the Huns side, obviously playing a team the caliber of Richmond, may not get the victory, but it's going to do a lot for spreading the word and showing fans here in Central Texas what quality rugby is all about in person.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to do that. It's also going to show that the Huns they're ready to take on whatever's out there to play, and a team like Richmond's no slouch even when they are touring. So you definitely got to bring your A game. And I know that this is the Huns D2 side today, but they're playing. These guys know that they've got to put their hand up as well, and they got to play up a little bit because they can always get the chance here in the playoffs to make that move if someone gets injured.
Richmond, their last match at home, they fell to the Royal Navy side, and the Navy taking on Army today in that matchup across the pond there. Happened earlier, obviously due to the time change. Time difference, I should say.
So a little bit of slowdown here, some change out of some players. And I think that's what it's going to come down to is Richmond's going to make sure they get everybody some time in today.
The Huns doing the same. They have a very deep reserves bench for this match as well. Going to be getting a lot of players time out on the pitch as scrum will be to the Huns. Carlos Alvarez to put it in.
And it's already Greg Vernell seeing a little bit of looseness and not squared up on the front end of the scrum. He's letting them know, look, this is not what I want to see today. You guys straighten it out. Let's come in, make sure that everybody's safe.
Greg Vernell making sure safety is the priority, rightfully so. Seems ready to engage in the scrum yet again. On the turf, picked up by Richmond. They come up with the loose ball. Outside, a bit of space. Little kick over the top. But unable to reclaim it, unable to put that downward pressure on it. But you see the idea, you see the caliber right there, the Richmond backs.
That was definitely a smart kick ahead. He knew he had some pressure on him. Best way to do it is to relieve it. And Ivan Plindew says, hey, that was good, Greg. I saw nothing wrong with that. You can award the try. Looks like you just got a tour guide.
I was given Kate Clemens nice enough to give me her U.S. tour book. She said I had to give it back. She would be fine if she said there's all kinds of information in here. But the one thing we do not have is a roster. And Richmond on top quickly. Richmond players already talking about this heat and humidity. I know in London a little week ago it was just above freezing.
Yeah, just above freezing.
This is a change.
91 degrees out here, 70% humidity like you said earlier.
91 degrees Fahrenheit.
Winds died down a little bit. 70% humidity.
Even the staff of Richmond, that caught their attention. There's the conversion. Finds itself up and through, and about halfway through the first 40 minutes. Richmond in full control, 28-0, and another water break coming out on the pitch.
Right now it's saying it's 89 degrees out here, but the heat index
Oh, it's cooled off then.
Yeah, the heat index has it at only 98, so it's come down a little bit.
I don't know what that is in centigrade. My apologies, but it is it's definitely warm. That much I know for sure.
So in centigrade, it's going to be, I don't have that conversion here, but I can get it.
So both sides, and you see the Richmond players tanking up on as much water as they can. They've got the cool ice towels over their heads as well. But that is a brief respite.
So in centigrade, it feels like 37 here.
Oh, just a balmy 37 degrees Celsius. I'm sure that is warmer than the warmest day of the year in London.
I've got a buddy, he's a Aggie rugby player, former Aggie rugby player, does a contract work in Abu Dhabi, and he says, 37, that's a cool front.
Oh, that's nothing. It's all relative, and that much is true. The team's taking the chance, officials taking the chance to get rehydrated as well. We welcome you one more time wherever you may be joining us from. If you're here in the States, across the pond in England, anywhere across the world.
Got a little news from 3 miles away. It's about 10 minutes left in the match over at Reds versus Blacks, and it is tied up 26-all.
26 apiece, Red versus Blacks, that big-time match here in the Red River Rugby Conference. The Huns have already secured the first seed in the Red River Rugby Conference, but now that battle is for second place, and that's big when it comes to playoff implications. The Huns, well, they beat their crosstown rival last week, 31-30. Their South African number 8, Dion Manare, final second try. The conversion made by their French fly half, Timothy Guillemin, and that was enough to give them the 31-30 victory, and that was a big match. So the Huns sweeping this series, taking both games here in 2017.
So another shout out from Richmond team. The physio, Michelle Cuthbert, would like me to give a shout out to her husband, Andy Cuthbert. And she says, Andy, it's time to put the boy to bed.
You could not have scripted that. That came straight from her. Again, the repercussions and consequences we're not sure of. So do as you wish with that information.
You know, one thing, Kit, this job has got to be some of the most fun we have during any week. And you do this all week long. I can't.
It's not always this enjoyable. I don't always have a partner as entertaining as you. That much is for sure. These matches are they're a real treat. I always look forward to them. You're not wrong about that.
I did get to do some between the matches.
Big alley line coming through. My apologies for the interruption. We talk about what they've done this week. They've been to a baseball game in Cowboy Stadium, a shooting range. Spent some time on 6th Street, as you might imagine. 6th Street, the notorious party avenue in Austin.
Tourists have numbers if they use it.
Richmond going through. Oh, great tackle from behind. Huns, they tried saving tackle momentarily. That time it was Darian Hubert.
Zinzan Ellen Puttick got blown off that ruck, but now he's going to try and...
Puttick, a grubber kick into space, looking for Sassano. But too far for Sassano and into touch.
Quick throw in by Richmond.
McGalley Lyon, the front row man, moving Huns off of it. Huns now. Biff Little with a nice touch. McLean is looking to send the grubber to himself.
We're going to come back to the knock-on, though, by Richmond. Scrum to Huns here. And Huns turned up the physicality a little right after this break, didn't they?
Well, that was one thing that Richmond said after their match against Dallas Athletic and Starks. They said this is a physical side. We didn't anticipate them being as physical as they were. They were in good shape. They played hard for the full 80 minutes, even with the score well tilted toward the Richmond side. Scrum to the Huns. Alvarez waiting for the signal before he puts it in. Back it goes, Alvarez. Tackled immediately, can't get it away. Richmond find themselves back with it.
Bill Hansen's going to be dinged for being offsides here. And
Richmond looking for the quick restart.
And they kick it through, pick it up on the bounce, but they didn't go through the mark. Greg Varnell is going to call him back here and say, let's do this cleanly.
We will have to restart things at the halfway line. Kick all the way back.
Oh.
The Huns unable to secure it.
Nice kick downfield by the Richmond team. Just they were probably looking for touch, but they got one even better scrummage here inside the 22, attacking the Huns line. And we are 10 minutes left in the Blacks-Reds match, and it is still tied, but now it's 31-all, not 26-all.
That match has been back and forth from the opening kick. The battle for second place in the Red River Rugby Conference. Austin Blacks, Dallas Reds.
Not a battle either of those teams are used to being in place of. They're used for that battle to be the battle for first and second place, not second place.
That's exactly right, but what a difference a year has made. The Huns, their new coaching staff, bringing in all these talented players, and they not only have they beaten their rivals, the Blacks, twice, they're going to secure first place in the conference.
Forward pass by Richmond here. Going to get a scrum to the Huns. And they're lucky there because that big prop of Richmond definitely had taken that one in.
I believe that is James Doherty. Doherty, the
I think you're right there.
big prop you mentioned earlier. And this little pamphlet we have, it says, off the field, could not be a more charming and gregarious character.
Charming and gregarious.
Famously opposed to the preseason Sunday morning gym session.
Must be they do cardio there. Not sure that was the best chip kick ahead for the Huns, but
Huns looking to get on it, and they do. An opportunity here. Huns going the other way.
Billy Hoya saying, I don't have the gas to stop to get past this guy.
Billy Hoya that time couldn't get through. He had it, got all the way down to the 22, but couldn't get any further before he was tracked down.
Greg Varnell sees a little foul play going on here. He's going to call Ivan back, make sure that he didn't see anything too foul. And he's going to award a penalty here to Huns.
Now, this is an exhibition match, and this is Richmond side on tour, but they were coming back quickly. They did not want to allow the try there to Hoya.
Doherty coming off the field definitely looks like he wanted that try. 5-meter line out to the Huns. And see what they can do. See if they got a driving ball that Richmond has an answer for.
So the captain, McLean, the hooker for Austin, comes over and will take the line out. Maybe the Huns' best opportunity thus far. But stolen away. Very nicely taken by Richmond. Huns tried to go short. Richmond was up to it.
Richmond staying on their feet through the attempted pull down.
And now Richmond looking for help. Going the other way. Fakes the kick at the halfway line. Nicely tackled by Puttick. Puttick, a try-saving tackle. They do indeed. Looking to spin it to the far reaches. Now cutting back inside. Richmond so quick after every breakdown. They get the ball out so quickly, they spin it away. And the Huns, their scrum half, Alvarez, finds himself with it.
It's knock on by Richmond. No advantage gained by the Huns. Barnell's going to bring it back up to the knock on. And 5 minutes left over 3 miles away. The Blacks have pulled ahead 41-31 over the Reds. But you don't count out the Reds yet.
Not by any stretch, but a 10-point lead in 3 minutes.
That's a tough one.
Things looking to go the Blacks' way, and what a coup that would be for the capital city to have the first and second place teams in the Red River Rugby Conference.
And that is halftime by Greg Varnell's count.
Remember, this is indeed an exhibition match. And so they will call the half a bit early, but the visitors, the tourists as you refer to them, leading 28-0. It has been all Richmond on top of Austin here in the first half. We'll be back to Huns Field after this for this exhibition match between Richmond football and the Austin Huns.
Co-signing? Oh, that was sexy.
Idle hands. They say they're the devil's workshop. But give idle hands a place to go, a purpose, and they're capable of amazing things.
I wished I could tell my daughter to go play outside, but every time she coughed or wheezed or suffered, it scared me, and weekly allergy shots were just as scary.
I used to start my day ready to take on the world, but every change in temperature or rain or wind triggered something in my head. Itchy, watery eyes, headaches. A buddy of mine said I had to go to Texan Allergy.
Drops from Texan Allergy are so easy, so simple.
Texan Allergy put the quality back in my quality time.
Texan Allergy, changing lives one drop at a time.
And all I've done for want of wit, through memory now I can't recall. So fail to me the parting glad. Good night and joy be with you.
Glasses up to my brother Jerry. May God be with him.
Today is the day I step up to the plate. I choose the right way, the harder way. Not for who I am now, but for who I will become. Rep by rep, I will conquer my pain. Step by step, I will push myself further, faster. I see where I want to go. I can feel my victory, and I know I can, and I will be more today than yesterday. So challenge yourself and keep pushing.
Idle hands. They say they're the devil's workshop. But give idle hands a place to go, a purpose, and they're capable of amazing things.
I wished I could tell my daughter to go play outside, but every time she coughed or wheezed or suffered, it scared me, and weekly allergy shots were just as scary.
I used to start my day ready to take on the world, but every change in temperature or rain or wind triggered something in my head. Itchy, watery eyes, headaches. A buddy of mine said I had to go to Texan Allergy.
Drops from Texan Allergy are so easy, so simple.
Texan Allergy put the quality back in my quality time.
Texan Allergy, changing lives one drop at a time.
And all I've done for want of wit, through memory now I can't recall. So fail to me the parting glad. Good night and joy be with you.
Glasses up to my brother Jerry. May God be with him.
Today is the day I step up to the plate. I choose the right way, the harder way. Not for who I am now, but for who I will become. Rep by rep, I will conquer my pain. Step by step, I will push myself further, faster. I see where I want to go. I can feel my victory, and I know I can, and I will be more today than yesterday. So challenge yourself and keep pushing.
Halftime at Huns Field in Austin, this much-anticipated exhibition match featuring the second oldest rugby club in the world, Richmond football, and the Austin Huns and the visitors from London with a 28-0 lead at the break. We'll have the second half between Richmond and Austin coming up after this.
Simon.
Oh, that was sexy.
And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fail to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you.
Glasses up to my brother Jerry. May God be with him.
Today is the day I step up to the plate. I choose the right way, the harder way. Not for who I am now, but for who I will become. Rep by rep, I will conquer my pain. Step by step, I will push myself further, faster. I see where I want to go. I can feel my victory, and I know I can, and I will be more today than yesterday. So challenge yourself and keep pushing.
Halftime in Austin, Huns trailing Richmond Football Club, the second oldest rugby club in the world, founded back in 1861 in London, England, in this much-anticipated exhibition match. Alongside Grant Cole, I'm Kit McConico. A very warm welcome to all of you, wherever you may be joining us from. We know we've got a lot of viewers tuned in from across the pond, and we'd certainly like to welcome you, as it is the hour growing late there in England and all across the United Kingdom. And Grant, Richmond dominating early on, 28-0. You mentioned that barbarian style, just so quick, ball in hand and out in a flash. A very talented side that we've seen so far.
And if they could continue having fun like that in the second half, they're definitely going to go on to win this one easily. It is a very entertaining style of rugby, a fun style of rugby. Again, high risk. The reason it's high risk because it's real easy to make mistakes, and if Austin is keen, then they'll make sure to capitalize on those mistakes when they are made.
Before we get to the second half, we'd like to congratulate the Vikings, Saxons, and Normans. They're all league winners there in the Shield Division 1, 2, and 3 North, respectively, while the Jutes join the Shield Division 3 South. Heavies proudly reclaiming their Surrey Vets title. I know that you're a proud representative of the Vets. You like to see when the Vets do well, so congratulations there to the Heavies, the Surrey Vets title, and the under-21s for Richmond, the under-21 Surrey Cup champions as well.
And Norm Smith up at Chicago Blaze Rugby sent me a Heavies polo from their tour to Aspen in 2013. I would be wearing it today, but it's a little too small for me.
That's the look these days.
Yeah. Well, that look would be midriff showing for me. I don't think anybody here really wants that.
And both teams coming back to the field. Richmond already out there in those very distinct striped tops. The kit of yellow, red, and black shorts. And the striped socks, they will be going from right to left in the second half. The Huns in their home white kits trimmed with the sky blue and black. And Grant, for the Huns, what do they need to do to show improvement in this half?
They need to do the same thing that we always say they need to do. They need to execute the basics a little bit better, maintain their possession, and basically attack in a creative and tactical manner. They're going to need to basically just stick to the basics and run it straight.
Let you know you can follow the Huns at Austin Huns Rugby on Twitter. And for Richmond, it's at Richmond FC 1861, their founding year, second oldest club in England. Members of the first inter-club fixture against Blackheath back in 1864. You can go on and on. You have 150-plus years of history. A lot to talk about. Huns take the opening kick to start the second half. Huns looking to move it quickly, take advantage. Both teams with very deep benches. We've already seen a lot of reserves come on. And again, if you're just joining us, we apologize. We do not have an accurate Richmond football roster. And with almost 40 players and half as many jerseys, there's been a lot of jersey switching, as their operations manager, Kate Clemens, told us there would be. Richmond has been enjoying their trip to Texas immensely. They had a few players who came here last year with another side, and they came back and singing the praises of Austin to the rest of their club, so decided to make the trip here to the Lone Star State. First up in Dallas and now culminating in Austin. They will head back across the pond tomorrow.
Hey, so James Platten, in London wants me to give him a shout out. His ginger brother, Tom Platt, is out there playing for Richmond. I believe he's out there on the pitch right now. They say number 21. Is that what you said? 20.
Number 20 out there on the pitch. Again, we appreciate the Ginger Assassin is his nickname. You gotta love it. That is one and only. We appreciate everybody chiming in via Twitter, Facebook.
I heard he has a sword called Soul Taker.
I would not be surprised. That's all I'm going to say about that. Richmond continue their onslaught. They were very effective and efficient in the first half. Huns saw very little of the ball and weren't able to do much when they did have it. And there on cue, the Ginger Assassin in for the try.
And he seems to have taken the soul of the Huns midfield there into in goal.
I don't know that he much enjoys Kick a Ginger Day, but a beautiful try right there. Nice movement, able to get it out to him and takes it in, dots it down as Richmond adds to their lead now 33-0. The conversion coming.
Looks like Platt is also their conversion kicker here. So see if he can do as much damage with his toe as he can with the hands.
He will be indeed. Gets a quick sip of water. Grabs a tee from a teammate. And now we'll line it up and looks to split the post with the conversion. And just 3 minutes into the second half, visitors have already found the try zone. The kick, not on target.
Hit that one a little too soon, and had he waited just a half second, he probably would have put it right between the uprights.
Instead pushes it wide left, does Platt.
So not as much of an assassin with the toe as he is with the hand, but he did get 5 points for the tourist, and they are moving ahead right now.
And it stays 33-0. Our friends from London leading in this exhibition match. As we mentioned, the visitors with a side made up of first, second, and fourth division players. Much the same for the Huns, as they have predominantly a second division side, but also some third division as well. And now Richmond looking to offload, found a teammate. Beautiful pass and a great tackle by the Huns. Try-saving tackle. They need to get back defensively. Can they get numbers?
And Biff Little coming in from a way offside position, but that's okay because Richmond had already knocked it on, so it's going to be a scrum to the Huns. Well, Biff Little was offside by California. You know, you heard fourth in California. He was offsides in California.
Everything's bigger in Texas, as Richmond is figured out on this trip, and he was, as we say, offside by a country mile.
So apparently Fraser Crawford in England has a brother out here at Richmond playing Max Crawford. Apparently they call him Mr. Tickle.
Fraser on the sideline looks over with a wry smile. I don't know if he was happy that you made that public. The joys of social media, instantaneous feedback. I believe he said that it happens maybe later this evening. You'll see where that nickname comes from.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here to check that out. So one of the great things that happened today at halftime, or between the matches, Kit, I got to do an interview with Athlete of the Decade for USA Rugby, Phaedra Knight. She's here today in Texas. Went down to San Antonio today to see Fiesta Sevens, look at youth rugby down there. She's here talking to Al Garcia about Huns youth rugby. She is pushing a female youth rugby initiative in New York, around outside of the boroughs where Play Rugby USA works at. And she's down here talking about that. That'll be on FloRugby's Facebook pages later this week.
Wes Woods with the line out. Huns able to come up with it. It was tipped away, but ultimately lands with Austin. There are some great interviews that FloRugby did this week with Richmond, and their director did a great job talking to those guys. They spoke with Steve Hill, a lot of the players. It was a good interview that I enjoyed watching with Timmy Walford, the prop. You can go watch those FloRugby. The gentlemen enjoying their trip immensely. Most of them invested in cowboy hats and cowboy boots. A good look for anybody. I don't know how much use they're going to get out of those in London. Hey, maybe start a trend. Who knows?
Well, have you ever seen a real map of the USA in London? It's just Texas, California, and New England.
Oh, it should just be Texas. No reason for New England and California. Let's be honest here. Huns at the 22. Up to the 10. Huns stuck in their own end. Well defended by Richmond.
Richmond tackling is spot on today. They are definitely they definitely know the defensive side of gaps don't tackle, but at that point they were
doing a very good job stringing the Huns out, and the Huns look like they're going to be able to spin it wide, find a pocket of space. There's a Richmond man right there to come up with the tackle.
And referee Pendew does not take the chat back too well, and he gives Huns another 10 meters on the offsides call originally.
Kick finds itself into touch. The fans on the far side enjoying themselves in those newly erected stands they put up before the season started. Some of the first division players out there after their big match, 95-8 over Hark, securing first place in the Red River Rugby Conference, as well as a playoff seed in the national playoffs, which will be coming up shortly. Also like to say hello to Jamie Gibbs, Joe Day, both club legends. Shout out to both Gibbs and Day. Again, welcome all of you. You can hit us up at FloRugby there on Twitter. Let us know where you're watching from. And big hello there to Fraser Crawford, James Platt, everyone else across the pond joining us. And we thank you for helping spread the gospel of rugby here in the States. We know it is one of the biggest sports in the UK and in Europe, but starting to gain traction here in the States. It is certainly not nearly at the level, but the fastest growing sport in the country, and for good reason. Richmond, we thank them immensely doing their part to spread the word. Now Richmond looking for more, already leading 33-0. They've blanked the Huns so far. Richmond still great passing, and just as I say that, unable to secure it.
Commentator's curse there.
Hey, that's the broadcaster's curse. You say something nice, ultimately something will happen to the person you most recently complimented. I should have learned by now.
So one thing about Richmond today, you saw there, they moved the ball about 50 meters upfield, just using the ball to create space, putting it in space, letting a couple tackles get made, but making sure the ball gets out of the breakdown quickly. Smart move by Richmond there. That's kind of flowing rugby that the Huns would definitely like to play a little bit better of if they can get the possession.
Well, the Huns certainly learning a lot from this Richmond side. These are lessons that they will hope to incorporate into their matches. Scrum to the Huns. Alvarez waiting to put it in. And a few changes coming for Richmond as they will try to get some, I won't say fresh, maybe fresher legs on the pitch. I don't know that anyone in yellow, red, and black is fresh at this point. I'm just hearing from their director, Steve Hill, that after the next water break, Richmond is going to put their starting 15 back on. No rest for the weary. So the official switching duties is Ivan Lependu is taking over as our center referee here for the second half. I believe this is the third match he's officiated today.
Yeah, he's been took a boys D1 playoff quarterfinal match, Westlake versus Katy, and he came out and AR'd the Huns Hark match and AR'd the first part of this match, and then had to take over duties for Mr. Varnell at the halftime.
Huns with possession. But on the wrong side of their own 22. Grant, you mentioned that match between the Blacks and the Reds.
41-31, the Blacks win it. However, and you know, this would probably be easy to say, hey, the Blacks are going ahead, but the Reds did score a bonus point there, so they're going to get their 28 points in the series. The Blacks came into it with 23 points, I believe, and scored 5 points. A bonus point win, so that's 5 points, so that's at 28. So I think we're going to have to wait to see and look online to see what happens to the point differential between the two of them.
Well, one thing we know for sure, it'll be the two Austin teams advancing into the playoffs. In what order? Well, that's the question.
Hell, I'm not too sure about that yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe I spoke too soon.
Because if you know, and I don't know exactly how the committees have this panned out, and I'm going to have to go and read up on it. But if the Reds have the point differential advantage, then it may be the Reds going ahead.
Well, I certainly have to keep an eye on that. Richmond deep in the Huns end, looking, and yep. Nope.
Offsides by Austin.
So Richmond keeps it. Looking to go back to work quickly. Just meters away. Ginger Assassin unable to hold on to it, and the Huns have it. Better room outside. So fortuitous bounce gives it back to the Huns.
Darian Hubert has got some steps to him. I'd like to see him do more just flat out running than stepping. I think he's got some speed there, and if he just punched through the gap, he'd be all right.
Also like to say hello to Gaza Hall, a Richmond man watching from up in Newcastle. They're in the Toon part of the country this weekend, but hello to Gaza Hall, all the Richmond faithful watching from across the pond, wherever you may be, London, Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, anywhere.
Come to water break time here in the second half.
Scott Hall said that, Steve Hill, excuse me, looking at another note, Steve Hill, the director of Richmond, said that they're going to put the starting 15 back in after the water break, but we may have this line out first. That does indeed appear to be the case. Line out to the Huns. Taken nicely.
So here at this break, we just found out that next Saturday here at Huns Field, you're going to have the boys D1 semifinals featuring Woodlands facing Cy-Fair Rugby.
A Houston area matchup. And, you know, early on this year, the Woodlands defeated Cy-Fair, but Cy-Fair left 6 tries on the field that they thought they should have had that day, all because they were bobbling the ball. And I know that Coach Petey Hepburn and their captain, Keone Reeves, is definitely going to want to have it back. In addition, that means Westlake is going to be facing the Dallas Quins Colts. And so it should be an exciting Saturday. And I just can't even make a prediction as who's going to be making the final on Sunday. Westlake, the local representative, and they will certainly have a lot of fans out here supporting the Shaps. Congratulations to all the teams that have made their way here. The Final Four of Texas High School Rugby. Richmond looking to go back to work. They took a bit of a break, so to speak. Now their offense back in gear and looking for another. Just a meter shy of the try line. No signal yet. And there,
John Nichols was trying for it, but he couldn't get right there, so he popped right up to his man coming in, and they got a try time there to Richmond FC.
There it was indeed. So Richmond able to stick with it. Came up with the try, and they will extend their lead. Again, we invite you to follow us on Twitter at Austin Huns Rugby. And then Richmond at Richmond FC 1861. You can send your shout-outs to at FloRugby. Grant will be taking requests a little bit later. I believe it is a smooth oldies, a smooth jazz in the final 20 minutes.
I might be just trying to do a little postmodern jukebox stuff.
Oh, very interesting.
Probably more Puddles the Clown, Puddles Pity Party than anything else.
Kick, no good, pushed wide left. So Platt unable to convert it. I know a lot of his family's watching back across the pond. But the Huns been unable to get anything going offensively. Had very little possession.
Chris Nelson with a high hanger there.
Just haven't had a lot when they have had it. Not what we've seen from them this year, but going up against a very stiff side of great competition here from Richmond. Now Big Lion heading forward. Right at the 10-meter line. Back to the halfway, and the Huns unable to secure it. Had it momentarily. Richmond back with possession.
John Nichols, the squad father, with the jackal, and he's been a little hard dealt with there in the breakdown. He says, I need somebody to come in for me.
Looking for the substitution. You asked him his nickname. You said, is it the Godfather? He said the Squad Father.
Squad Father.
Gotta like that.
And with those tats on him, I tell you what, he could probably be a Peaky Blinder if he had the right hat on.
Huns. A Hun down on the pitch. Training staff coming out to take a look, and we will stop play for the time being. So a war of attrition starting to take its toll on both sides.
Yeah, but this hit back here was pretty tough, and can't remember who that is. It's down, but I do remember him going down pretty hard, being blown off a ruck.
Well, Richmond said it. They were surprised with the physicality of the rugby here in Texas, and that has continued. Started in their game against Dallas Athletic, and it's certainly been the case here against the Huns in Austin. Both teams will take the opportunity for a water break. What a day it has been. The rain that was imminent in the forecast when we woke up this morning has held off, fingers crossed. Even starting to see maybe the sun peeking out ever so slightly. First time today that has been the case.
A little bit of a break here.
Grant Cole, Kip McConico with you, and again, welcome you wherever you may be joining us from. I'm going to start charging James Platt for his shout-outs here as we will be saying hello to Miles Scott. And a little fact, according to James Platt, Miles Scott can eat an entire apple, eat an apple whole.
I don't even want to see that.
We appreciate that, I think.
So I'm looking at the standings from before today's matches, and you know what? You're right. It is going to be an all Austin playoffs from Texas.
I was looking at it this morning before the matches commenced. I thought that would be the case. Indeed, it is. So the Capital City teams representing, it'll be the Huns and the Blacks. Congratulations to both of them, the fierce rivals, both headed to the playoffs, finishing first and second respectively in the Red River Rugby Conference. Thank you for the confirmation.
Yeah, no offense there meant to anyone. I just didn't want to make sure I was speaking out of turn.
You know me, I'm a native Austinite.
Absolutely.
I'll give them whatever benefit of the doubt I can. Didn't think I was speaking out of turn. Turns out I wasn't. Trust me, it happens. The Huns send it back. Well taken by Richmond. Richmond with those fresh legs on, getting as many of their starting 15 back on the pitch as they can. There's some speed out there now for the visitors.
Huns doing a little ankle biting to bring him down.
Good tackling there from the Huns. They've got to figure out a way to get it back. Richmond just so calm, cool, and collected, just going back to work. Such a well-coached outfit. And cutting back in. Huns try saving tackle. Richmond still with it. Just shy of the try line. Richmond waiting for the signal.
Huns have the ball now.
And the Huns, we'll see if they get it, and they're going to certainly put a boot to it. Getting out of the danger area, and that kick finds itself in touch.
Ellen Puttock with the touch finder from the back of the in goal.
Yeah, Zinzan Allen Puttock, the Hartswater, South African native, former Arkansas State man, 3-time collegiate All-American was Puttock. One of many highly decorated Austin Huns. So line out to Richmond. Less than 20 minutes remaining in this match, and the tourist, as Grant has been referring to them ever so lovingly. Put a stamp on this match early, and it has continued here in the second half, currently 38-0. No errant pass. Richmond able to find themselves with it as they retain possession. Now back to the near side, a bit of room and all kinds of room. That will certainly be a try. There it is. Taken in very nicely, dotted down for another Richmond try. Big James, they're already giving shout-outs over here as well.
Got a couple of them coming here.
Telling you, if you would have started charging pre-match, you would have made yourself a pretty penny.
Well, Alistair Lyon wants to give a shout-out to his wife, Catherine Lyon. She's on holiday in Portugal today, but she is watching this match. If she's in Portugal, I envy her.
Conversion, splits the uprights, is up and good. And
James Dougherty, this is his final match for Richmond.
Really?
Final game for Richmond ever. He wants to get a shout out to all his rugby fans. And that big man, I hope he stays in rugby somewhere, because definitely looks like he can give a lot back to the game.
He is a talent. He's been very impressive to watch. I'll say one thing. Maybe the Huns should think about investing in that big front row, man.
Well,
45-20, Richmond firmly in control of this one.
I will say there is a sports agent in the stands today that is a rugby sports agent. And
that's rare here, this side.
Yeah, well, he's a rugby sports agent to quite a few rugby players in France in the top 14.
Richmond, again, looking dangerous. And there's some local products. We've got some local boys actually playing there in France, and talk about the growth of rugby, starting to get some of these 17, 18-year-olds going to play professionally abroad.
Yep. Christian Osberg's over there right now playing for Stade Arlay. And Christian from Round Rock, played at Stony Point High School.
He was here a few weeks ago watching the Huns. It was a pleasure to speak with him. He was recovering, rehabbing from an injury.
Well, he was rehabbing, and he was also visiting his mom, who was on the mend or still fighting some of the big cancer. So
our thoughts and prayers certainly with her and the entire Augsburg family.
Yeah, hope Tracy Osberg kicks back pretty good, and Mats and Bell and Bella. All of y'all, our thoughts are with you. You got to love it when a dad goes out and gets his Touch Judge AR certification just so he can be involved in the game.
That's love, commitment. There's a line out high taken by McLean, and the Huns with a rare possession. Alvarez.
They've got to maintain possession now. The Richmond has been good at the jackling today.
Well, that's been the issue. When the Huns have had it, it has been for very short periods at a time. They haven't had any extended possession. When you don't have the ball, you can't score. Seems simple, but Hoya in there.
And the stadium announcer getting into it for Billy Hoya over there.
PA announcer and Billy Hoya's payroll right there, pumping him up as much as he can. Outside McLean. But nowhere for the Huns to go. Even when they do find a sliver of space, it closes down almost as quickly.
Just not enough Huns in support there. Plenty of Huns that could have been in support, just not enough there.
A lot of hands on knees, hands on hips.
Side entry by Richmond at that breakdown.
Fatigue really setting in for both sides. The Huns now taking the opportunity to make a change. Fans have been treated to a full day of high-quality rugby action, enjoying themselves immensely. Beautiful Huns field out here in Nixon Lane, just east of downtown Austin. It was farmland, pastured at one point, and all the work that's been put in here, the improvements, absolutely astounding. Every time we come out here, they've done something, added something. Turning into a very impressive rugby ground.
Offsides by Richmond that time. You see the fatigue setting in, and Ivan Pingu is definitely not letting them get away with anything.
Well, referee Lependu doing a very good job, the Utah native. As the kick finds touch. Line out to the Huns. Captain, the hooker McLean, over to take it. Taking long, Huns able to get on top of it. But the pass low, giving Richmond time to come up quickly, able to make a good tackle. JP Novak in the game, one of the reserves now for the Huns. Has a good carry. High tackle there. Huns, quick restart, looking to take any advantage they can. Novak, and hit immediately. Big tackling from Richmond. They have continued to play, not looking at the scoreboard. Puttick. Offload, he's looking for Sassano.
Ellen Puttock trying to find a little gap.
Huns, one of their longer possessions of the match, but they've got to turn it into points. Not just possession, possession with a purpose. Both teams making a few more changes.
And I know that says number 8 on that Richmond player's back, but I'm pretty sure that's a loose head prop.
Yeah, that is big alley line coming on. As we said, they've got almost 40 players and almost just about half as many jerseys. So if you can find one that you can put on, I think Richmond is going to take it. That's the only requirement. Scrum to the tourist, as you have so affectionately dubbed them.
Yeah, now, remember, you only call them tourists when they're on tour, which, like they are.
Well, unfortunately, that will end tomorrow as they will be heading back home, their final day and night here in the capital city in the Lone Star State. And back across the pond, start turning their sights to next season. Grant continues to get, we will say, well wishes from across the world. I'm careful in how I'm phrasing that.
Just had some good meetups with some folks today, and I was telling my wife about it, and I'm chuckling at her response.
Scrum to the Huns. There at the 22. Puttock looking to get himself a little grubber kick, but picked up nicely. Richmond well defended. Puttock is so adept in those. But it came off the tip of his boot and picked up by Richmond.
This match is winding down here.
Final few minutes. Richmond firmly in control, I think, right now. They'd like to keep the clean sheet, and they'd like to keep everyone healthy.
Yeah, everybody. I think that's all we're looking at right now. The final 5 or 6 minutes is making sure everybody stays healthy, and let's just go home safe. Everybody looks like they're moving a little slow out there.
Pace has certainly decreased a bit from what we saw earlier when it was 100 miles a minute. Don't know what that is in kilometers. My apologies. Richmond continues to look good, continues to press and battle.
A little bit of footwork there, keeping him going. He stayed on his feet by moving his feet.
It was 28-0 Richmond at half, and they haven't taken the foot off the pedal. They're continuing here in the second.
Nice save there. For a pass to Richmond forward, and he saved the pass from being a knock-on.
Right at the halfway line, now over. Opportunity for Richmond. Nothing but green grass in front of them. Puttock, great tackle. Zinzan Allen Puttock, fantastic try-saving tackle.
2 of them, for that matter, back to back.
But Puttock continues to battle, is not giving up the ghost by a long shot. Puttock again in on the tackle. Richmond looking for maybe one more.
And
Puttock.
Alapindu says that that the Richmond player has knocked it on. Scrum to the Huns here.
Well defended by the Huns. Looked like there's another opportunity for Richmond.
Yeah, Buddick really stepped up in that phase of play there. If it hadn't been for him, it looks like Richmond had a couple of 3 times they could have been in. Next week, Puddick's alma mater is playing in the Varsity Cup Championship.
Former Arkansas State man.
Yeah. That's the only part of my bracket there that stayed steady. Everything else got blown out. The other side got blown out.
Which, not a good thing for you, but a good thing for college rugby. It just shows the parity.
And there's not very much at the moment.
Starting to improve and getting some new size, new blood in there amongst the elite.
All kinds of space there, and he runs right into the man.
Huns at their own 5 meters, deep in their own territory.
Dangerous tackle there by the Richmond player. But not enough to warrant a card, so just a penalty. And that's not going to go to touch, so Richmond's going to get a chance to attack again.
Taken nicely, Richmond. Just shy of the 22. Showing that quick strike offense. And a hole there, and well, in for the try, no trouble whatsoever. The Huns absolutely gassed, and Richmond tacks a few more on.
No one home at the post for the Huns, and that's going to be an easy step through for any flanker. And the Richmond flanker definitely takes that and goes with it, says, thank you very much. I've got about 20 meters of steps worth, and I'm going to dot this one down.
Was indeed the case. Conversion coming, and final few minutes, we'll see how much is left, and kick is up and good. Richmond adds.
Winds change direction on us now, and looks like we got a few rain clouds to the west of us.
Well, we knew rain would be coming. It's just a question of when. Would we be able to get through this match? Hopefully we will, and then the rain will come. We'll certainly be happy to have it here in the Central Texas area. But 52-0, Richmond on top of the Huns. Richmond took that game over Dark 56-5. Dark able to put some points up against them. The Huns would like to be able to do the same. They have very little time left to do it.
James Dougherty getting a carry in his last match in the Richmond kit.
McLean.
Lockie McLean, he's going to go one direction. That's forward into the next man.
Yeah, the Huns captain over the 10-meter. The Huns lose it. Back with Richmond it goes. Squad father with the carry.
Squad father with the take, and then the carry, and then the take again, and then the carry again.
Huns absolutely gassed, doing everything they can to stay upright. And if Richmond can find space, they may be off to the races yet again. Oh, what a tackle. Puddick, 4th time he's been able to do that today. The pass too tall. Huns there. And all of a sudden they have it.
Strong counter ruck by the Richmond side. And Dougherty's knocked it on.
And the big front rower just puts his hands up in the air. Richmond, their sideline, they wanted Dougherty to get it there and have a run.
I don't think Lapindu, there he goes. He's looked at his watch now. He knows. This is the last play, he's telling him.
Final few seconds in this exhibition match between Richmond Football Club, the second oldest club in England, formed back in 1861, and the Austin Huns. This will tour This will finish the tour, I should say, for Richmond, heading back home tomorrow. Actually played the first all-black touring side back in 1905. Give you an idea of just a bit of their history. So long and storied.
That scrum wheels over 90 degrees, and Lapindu calls it up. He can't end a match on a wheeled scrum, so still got a few seconds left to go.
First women's international match played at Richmond back in 1986. And this will almost surely be the final play of the match.
Yes, Ross, good play. Yes, Keith.
Huns battling, have it for the time being.
Huns telling their players, go again, but...
Oh, Doherty. Richmond batting it back.
And no one home.
Richmond able to retain possession, luckily, a fortuitous bounce. A nice move from the big lock inside, offloads, and another try for Richmond. One final scoring play for the visitors.
I don't know who's more tired out there, the Huns or Lapindu. Referee Lapindu, after 3 matches in a row today, he looks like he's pretty done, and he's saying, nope, I'm done.
That will do it. Conversion up and good. And the Huns fall in their exhibition match hosting Richmond Football Club, this storied franchise from England coming across in their second match on tour, heading home tomorrow 57-0, the final. For Grant Cole, our entire production crew, and everyone with the Austin Huns, we thank you for joining us wherever you may have joined us from. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. The final from Austin Huns Rugby Ground. Richmond football 57, the Huns 0. That will do it for us. Final match of the year for the Huns here at home. We thank you so much for your support, for joining us. For Grant Cole, I'm Kit McGonigal. We'll see you next time for Austin Huns Rugby.